Hey there. So what do you know about Yemen? If you follow the news really diligently, you may be aware that the United Nations now thinks that the world's worst ongoing humanitarian crisis is in Yemen. But you'd have to be following the news really carefully to have heard that. The truth is, we never really hear about Yemen. Over the next week or so, I'd like to look at why that is and hopefully explain some of what's actually going on there. The first thing to know about Yemen is that it's in a very, very important neighborhood, on one of the world's most important shipping routes. If something is going between China and Europe, the chances are pretty good that it travels past Yemen. The country also borders some of the world's richest and poorest countries, which is a problem. Yemenis have been suffering from and profiting from Somalia's chaos for decades. However, Yemen's principal misfortune for the past century or so has been its ever more powerful neighbor to the north, Saudi Arabia. It's a tremendously complicated story that I'll get into more in the next couple videos, but let's start out with what's going on right now. Since 2015, Yemen has been subjected to a brutal siege. In the words of journalist and academic Ginny Hill, who has written a fantastic book on the topic, Saudi Arabia's Operation Renewal of Hope began on April 22, 2015, and progressively destroyed the country's civilian infrastructure, including main roads, ports, and airports. The Saudi airstrikes have taken out multiple hospitals as well. The death toll from the fighting alone is estimated to stand at least 12,000 people, but that's likely to be a very low estimate. We just don't really know what's going on. Foreign journalists have been largely blocked from the country, and internet adoption in the country has always been low, even before the bombing started, so we don't have much information from citizen journalism either.
So you will hear, well, we don't really know, maybe it's made up. But they are hiding what is happening from the world. It would be easy for independent investigators to get in, along with food, health workers, and others. But instead, the perpetrators are hiding their brutal assault from the world willfully.
Even worse than the bombing, the destruction of this desperately poor country has led to a hunger and health crisis. UNICEF estimates that a child dies every 10 minutes from preventable causes. And now there's a cholera epidemic that has infected 500,000 and killed 2,000. As of April, 17 of Yemen's 27 million people are reckoned to be food insecure, and 10 million are seen as being in food crisis. Yemen is a horror show, but we never hear about it. To be clear, I don't want to imply that Saudi Arabia's opponents in this fight are great guys. They're not. But Salah and the Houthis don't have a presence in the air or on the sea. It's a tremendously one-sided conflict in terms of firepower. If Saudi Arabia wasn't involved, many fewer people would be dying. Compare how little we hear about this to how much we heard about Syria and the fall of Aleppo specifically. In the United States, at least, we can't stop hearing about how savage Assad is and how brutal he is to civilians. Our government and our media wouldn't shut up about it for 5 years.
Are you truly incapable of shame? Is there literally nothing that can shame you? Is there no act of barbarism against civilians, no execution of a child that gets under your skin, that just creeps you out a little bit?
Assad dropped barrel bombs on his own people. Well, Saudi Arabia is dropping precision-guided, United States-manufactured missiles on hospitals as an outside power. Assad at least has some legitimacy with some sections of his people. Saudi Arabia is destroying Yemen as an outside power. This is not a civil war. The internationally recognized president had lost pretty conclusively before the Saudis started the meat grinder. It took 6 months of Saudi bombing to get President Hadi back into Yemen. The appropriate comparison actually isn't what Assad did to his own country. It's what Saddam Hussein did to Kuwait in 1992, which kicked off the whole horror show that is the modern Middle East. Saudi Arabia is doing a disgusting thing. And we don't hear about the horrors of this war because the United States and the United Kingdom are in complete support of it. We're not just selling the Saudis the weapons to do this. We are also providing logistics, refueling, and intelligence support. The United States is directly complicit in this destruction. The U.S. ambassador to Yemen now resides in Saudi Arabia. In the final months of his administration, after a year and a half of murderous war, Obama made some half-assed attempts to slow down arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Trump reversed those moves in his first months of office.
Aleppo to encircle tens of thousands of civilians in your ever-tightening noose. It is your noose. 3 member states of the UN contributing to a noose around civilians.
In Samantha Power's impassioned speech at the UN, she was talking to the Russians primarily. Well, in Yemen, we're the Russians. And that is why we never hear about it in the United States. If you want to find out exactly why we're supporting Saudi Arabia in this frankly evil endeavor, I suggest you pick up my essay, Everybody's Lying About Islam, that answers a lot of questions you might have about U.S. foreign policy, Middle East, terrorism, and many, many other things. And come back for part 2 of this series, where I will explain why Yemen is not entirely our fault in the United States. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click here to buy the Everybody's Lying About Islam essay. Thanks.